Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and we have an interesting tier list. Now, I have two YouTube channels. I have a regular gaming YouTube channel, and I have a wrestling YouTube channel, and this is the perfect combination of the two. We throw them together, and so today we are having a video that will be up in both places, which is kind of unique for me, but I wanted to just see kind of like not even just necessarily fighting Pokemon, but like what Pokemon we would see in like a typical like big aspect would make good wrestlers. Now, I'm going to put the caveat that there's a lot of Pokemon here that have strength, but I'm like thinking the presentation of actual fighting. So like something that's like maybe on all fours, kind of being like I see Taurus down here would be a great example of having a ton of power, but probably not the greatest wrestler. We want a little bit of show, we want a little bit of fighting, and we're going to rate them the best way we can. And I'm going to try to make these tier lists as even as possible to make it a little bit more difficult on me that I actually have to make some decisions at some point because some of these, there's a lot that are really high up there, but I do think that there's other ones that, you can kind of change it up a little bit. And some of them, we'll kind of go from there. So we will jump into it. We got what is primates, what is it, Annihilate? I really don't remember exactly what he looks like or like what he his name is. This is a ghost fighting type, which is pretty interesting typing. It is Mankey's and Primate's final evolution. This one's weird because like he's got a different look to him than any of these other guys, so I think he would be an interesting character. But I feel like there's other ones that are like better than him. So I think I'm gonna put him in B for the time being. I think he's definitely gonna go higher, but it helps my brain think about like where do we put him, like if we have people that go underneath of him, it's a lot easier, and people above him to kind of set up a whole entire thing. Next up, we got is Beware. Now, Beware has enormous strength and would be a perfect wrestler to a certain extent, except that he's kind of just like Bailey being like no, hugger gimmick. And honestly, it's not bad. I just think like he's not really like a big like fighter. He just kind of hugs and he kind of baby body slams. I'm gonna put him in C. He's kind of one of those ones that you wouldn't be bad to put in here, but I think with what we're doing, there's gonna be a lot better ones. And speaking of that, Blaziken, I think Blaziken would be absolutely perfect between like his agility, his kicking, and all of that. I think he's got to be up in S tier. Again, we're trying to make this as even as possible and like try to nitpick as much as possible. And it's gonna be hard because I know there's gonna be a lot towards the top of it and harder to put stuff at the bottom of it. So we're gonna try our best. Breloom again is another one that's like fits that perfectly. I think more than anything, if I'm gonna pick anything about Breloom that I don't necessarily like, is that I don't think he's much of a striker because his arms are a little bit shorter and he doesn't have quite the fighting style look. So I think I'd put him in A just because we got to be nitpicky to make sure we get to this perfect one. Then we got Chestnut's Final Evolution, or it's yeah. Was it? God, wow! Now I just completely spaced on the name. He's got a big build, and I think he would work pretty well in this. I think I'll put him up in S tier. I think it's a pretty solid area. He's got like that big show build, or just I don't know. Then we got Primal Dolphin. This is kind of what I was saying earlier. I think he's really, really strong. I think he would work really good as just being like an enforcer, but because of like being on four and stuff, I think he just wouldn't have much showy. He would just be kind of taking down people. So I'm gonna put him down in D. Then we have Girder. Um, he has the feel like if you get rid of like the cement things that he would fit pretty well. So I think I'd put him in A. I think he's really close up there, but I think a lot of his look comes down to like the cement that he'd bring down there, and then he would just have to like leave it and go in there. It's kind of weird to see that Pokemon without the cement. Crab Abominal or Abominal, whatever the I don't even know sometimes with these names. I think he fits pretty well. I think he would be more of a boxer than anything. But he has a pretty good ability to be a good striker. So I'm gonna put him next to Primate type thing, and we'll go from there because I think he's pretty high up there. But I need to make sure I got more space up at the top. Then we got God. it's a Morales Final Evolution, but it's the form from Legends of Arceus, right? He has a great like vibe and feeling, but I don't think he's quite what we're thinking about wrestling. So I'm gonna put him down and C. Then we got Ted Pig's Final Evolution. He's got that big brawling type. I think this is like the perfect person that we're thinking. He could also probably be a great sumo. One that I'm really surprised, kind of glancing at this list that's not here, is Snorlax. I know Snorlax kind of lays down the entire time, but Snorlax on 2 feet would be very intimidating and very good wrestler. I think I'll put Ted Pig's Final Evolution up there. Then we have Franks, or what is it, Flinks? I really don't even remember this Pokemon existing 90% of the time. Um, I don't think it quite fits what we're doing here, so D. Then we have Gallade. Honestly, I think if you get rid of the sword, he might have a good feeling to be in there, but I think the sword in general just kind of puts him into more of a fighting type thing, but then like sword fighting than actual wrestling. So I'll put him down in C. Then we have God, I honestly spaced on whatever his future name is because like they just kind of they had like I don't know why that part of the generation I just never really thought about it being like that they have different names for their future forms or whatever. I put this in C. I think the metal part kind of blows what you're trying to do with this because you kind of want to like almost a grittiness to the wrestling and then like him being a robot. I will see his other evolution. I think you put up an A. I mean, he's basically a sumo wrestler, so he fits really good here. He reminds me of Yokozuna from back in the WWE. I think he would fit perfectly here. So I'm gonna put him in A. I would want to put him in S if I have the space, but I think it's gonna be a little hard. Then we got the Flamingo. I don't really see him being in there. I think I'm gonna put him in C. He could obviously fall down to D if I have space. I just have a feeling D might be filled up a little bit. This Gallade without the sword is a little bit better. I'd probably put him in B. He's got a good look to him. I really do like Gallade, and I kind of like him in this. It's just kind of hard to think about when you got so many Pokemon that fit into this category. Then we got, is this Clobbopus? I honestly don't even remember. I think you put him in A. He has a good vibe to him. I think he fits. Next up, we have Halucha, automatically S tier. He is the epitome of this challenge. The first Pokemon I thought of was Halucha, and Halucha would be such a great Pokemon for this. Next up is Heracross. Heracross wouldn't be bad. He's got like a decent vibe to him. He doesn't really seem like a fighter to a certain extent, but he has a decent vibe. I think I'd put him in C, but I would like to put him up higher if we have a little bit of space. But like I'd probably naturally put him in B, but I do feel like he might fall down. Hitmonchan, other than being a boxer, he doesn't really have too much craziness. Like he's a great fighter, but like he feels more of like a boxer than a wrestler. So I'll put him in B. I think he's very solid, but I think it's like it doesn't fit this challenge perfectly. Hitmonlee is a lot better. I mean, a kickboxer, like obviously, is in that type of category, but kickboxing is like more common to wrestling than in like a boxer gimmick. So I guess that's where I'm kind of going for there. Then we got him on top. Um, I'll put him in B. Just I think the size maybe. Then we have God, Infinirape? Is that God? I don't know why sometimes I space on the final evolutions. Um, he fits pretty high up there to be put in S tier. I just really think he's got that vibe and agility to him. Next up, we have that dragon Pokemon from Sun and Moon. He has the plates. I don't really feel like he's got that vibe necessarily to me, so I'm gonna put him in C. Then we got God. I'm just realizing how bad I am with Final Evolutions Pokemon. Um, she's not bad. I think she would be like a decent pickup. So I'll put her in B. I feel like I'm just not gonna have space. Lucario, obviously S tier. He just is like another one epitome of like a fighting type fighter, like going in there for wrestling, can do everything. And then you got Machamp. He literally has a belt across his thing. Like Machamp has to be there. Then we have Meditite. Again with kind of like almost like a kung fu type thing. I think works pretty well for this. I'll put him in A. I think Minfu is kind of the similar thing. I almost like Minfu a little bit better in this position. Pancham's Final Evolution, I do think is pretty high up there. I think I'll put him up in S. Then we have the Monkey from Sun and Moon. I think with what we have, I could put him down in C. I think he's not necessarily quite what fits the challenge, but I don't think it's the worst. Then we get the two new ones. Honestly, they're a little small, so I feel like you could probably put them down here. I just think they're a little bit too small for some of these other guys. Poliwhirl S tier, really high up there. Just kind of again, technical striker. We would have some pretty fun fans with that. Primate, I think I'd put him similar to Hitmonchan, but like I kind of like him better in this situation. I'll put him in B, and if I have space, I'll move him up. Final evolution of Quaxley. He's got a definitely like vibe to him. I could definitely see what he's wearing would be something Seth Rollins would wear. So I think maybe for like the vibe itself, I'll put him in C and out at the bottom. Larvesta, kind of back to the four thing. The two like karate guys. I think I put both of them in B. I think like they could fit, but just not quite. I think I'll move Glade up a little bit. He's been the one that's like on that cusp. Scraggy, not necessarily bad. I think he's like gimmick would be pretty good, like a punk rocker type fighter, but I don't think he fits this quite on being high up on there. Surfetch with the sword, I think we could put him down there at the bottom. Sneasel's other form, pretty close. I think I'd put him in B for now, and we might have to move some people around. We'll put all three Tauruses at the bottom. I kind of banked that I knew it was going to have a loaded bottom here. And then we have Krogunk. And I think Krogunk's space in A, which is the only spot I have, is perfectly valid. So I think we're going to move him up one. I think we'll move him up to S tier. This is basically as even as it can be, and I think it fits pretty well. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye guys.